everyone, my name is Mackenzie, and today we are doing the Privilege Ladder. The purpose of the Privilege Ladder activity is to learn how to recognize power and privilege and how it can affect our lives even when we are not aware that it is happening. The purpose is not to blame anyone for having more power or privilege or for receiving more help in achieving goals, but to have an opportunity to identify both obstacles and benefits experienced in our life.
Let's see. When I think of class privilege, I automatically think of socioeconomic class. Obviously, there's the middle, the one percenters, and then the low income. And obviously, there's factors that help contribute what one you're placed into. You can be born into it. Obviously, if you have parents that are educated and are successful in their jobs, then you'd be more likely to be able to go on and get education as well, and then most likely be put in the same type of class they're in. I also think of class that can be broken down into like races. They factor into what class you're put in, which kind of goes off of privilege. Because if you're a Caucasian male, I think you're more likely to go through life, which doesn't necessarily discredit all the hard work that you've done or all the things you've accomplished, but you can go through life not having to worry if your skin color or if your gender or sexual orientation has affected the opportunities you've been given. So I think that ultimately plays a big role in your class and like your place in society. Whereas if you're African American or Hispanic, homosexual, a woman, it puts you in a different place into society and you have different expectations, and yeah.
For me personally, the way I define it, I think because I'm a millennial and like the time that I'm growing up in right now, I think that to me it means more of like a social construct thing. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of privilege to me. I mean, at first, the first thing that came to my mind is that it's like something that it's almost like when you don't realize. But I think that even if you do realize you're privileged, you can still be privileged and like do something about it, if that makes sense. Like you can use it for like positivity. Mm-hmm. But I think that privilege itself, like the definition for me, just means that you're given something, whether it's like a handicap in society or it's something economical, like financially, just any kind of like leg up on the other people in your community. I think like that to me is privilege, because when I was younger, I think I would just think that it means like you're rich. But now that I'm older, I realize that everything factors into privilege, and like
Yeah, I would say so. I was born into a family that's middle class. I have the opportunity to be here at Merrimack and get an education, which gives me an advantage to get a better job and make a good salary or a decent salary. Obviously being a woman has some detriments to it, but also being Caucasian, middle class, and heterosexual, that puts me more at an advantage. So I think I was born into that.
Awesome. I definitely think I'm privileged. I have grown up in, like, just to say it in the most basic terms, I'm white. Like, I'm white, my family's middle class. I've grown up fairly comfortably. Like, obviously everybody has their own separate issues, but compared to what those things could have been had I not had the innate privileges that I was born into or born with, it would have been a lot worse. I think that I forget what the rest of the question was.
Do you believe you have any form of privilege? And then if so, is it intentional or unintentional?
I personally think that my privilege is unintentional. I think just like some people can't help to be born into poverty or born into any sort of like sticky situation, I think that this sounds so stupid, but I can't, like, there's nothing I could have done in the womb or whatever to like change where I was born or what family or what, financial range I was born into. So I don't think.
Yeah, I would say majority. I know I've talked about with my friends at school that are females, there's a lot of males that walk around campus thinking they, you can definitely tell they're have privilege or they're known of their privilege, and they walk around and, particularly among the athletes, maybe there's definitely a stigma around their beliefs. Not that all of them, from what I've heard comments made by athletes, doesn't mean they represent the entire population, but they definitely have their own ideologies that I don't necessarily agree with.
Participants will begin by placing their popsicle stick at the bottom of the ladder. They will listen to a series of statements, and if they pertain to their personal identity or their experience, they will follow the directions by moving the popsicle stick either forward one line or back one line. By the end of this activity, they will look where they end up on the ladder, and they will think about what their privilege means to them and